Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So not great news on the inventory front this week. We are definitely climbing, so let's look at the numbers. In Georgetown last week, we had 10 sales, which is like an okay number, not high, but not low. The bad news is that we had 21 new listings. That is a huge amount of new listings. It's not a huge surprise. We do get a lot of people like, okay, after Easter weekend, spring market, we're gonna list. But we were sitting pretty steady with our inventory, and that is shifting this week. So that is something to note. If you're a seller, you might want to be getting your home on the market. Halton this week had no sales and 7 new listings, so also not a great story for inventory there. Glen Williams saw no sales and 2 new listings, and the rural market saw 2 sales and 2 new listings. Just a couple points of note looking at those numbers. So of the 12 sales that we saw in all of Halton Hills this week, 9 of the 12 were under $1 million. So that is still supporting our conversation around March's average price, where the majority of products selling are under $1 million. That was true this week as well. We are seeing the lower ticket stuff move, and the higher ticket stuff over that $1 million mark is definitely not transacting as frequently or as quickly as the lower price point stuff. The other thing to note, of the 32 new listings, only 12 of the 32 were under $1 million. So we're actually not getting a ton of inventory in the pocket that we're seeing sell, which means we are going to start to see inventory pile on over that $1 million mark, which I've kind of been surprised that so far this year we haven't seen the $1 million plus piling on, but this might be the start of it. So now looking at properties that have terminated, expired, relisted, all of that. We had 11 properties that terminated and relisted at a lower price. No surprise, we are definitely seeing things soften in terms of pricing. We did have 5 properties exit the market. That is helpful. We need more of that. And then we had 2 properties just relist at the same price. So that's sort of where we're at this week from like people exiting and re-entering the market. Now looking at our active inventory, all of Halton Hills is up from 167 to 182 active listings. A big jump up to 182. These are not the kinds of weeks that we want to see. We definitely want to see things a little more stable. Inventory climbing through the spring market is normal, but we don't want to see these massive jumps, and that is what we had last week. This is what got us into our situation last year. So hopefully we can see sales pick up. Looking at Georgetown this week, we are up to 107 active listings from 97. We finally broke over that 100 mark. Again, we are still a long way away from the 170 that we were seeing in Georgetown last September, but it is still not going in the direction we want. We want to see things stabilize, and now with this climb, I think we might be in for a bit of an inventory pile on for the rest of April. Looking at our price points, under 800,000 just climbed slightly from 15 to 16 active listings. 800 to $1 million remained the same at 25. And here's our story. 1 to 1.5 million climbed from 44 to 52 active listings. That price point is a problem. It's always a problem when our inventory is getting higher. And so if you're in that pocket, there's not a lot of people buying. Therefore, it's just sort of going to be a situation, I think, again this year, that 1 to 1.5. And 1.5 million plus is up slightly from 13 to 14 active listings. So still not crazy high compared to what we saw last year, but we are on a bit of an incline there. So Acton this week saw a big jump from 17 to 24 active listings. That is terrible news for Acton. We are not seeing a lot of sales in Acton. We had 1 week where we saw decent sales. Otherwise, we have seen sales trickling in for all of 2026. Acton has been insanely slow. So to see inventory take a jump like that, not great news for sellers. Glen Williams is up from 6 to 8 active listings, and the rural market is actually down because of some terminations. So 46 last week, we're down to 43. So overall, this update is showing that we might be trending back up in terms of our inventory levels. We are not seeing a crazy amount of sales in any of our markets, so that is not good news. And with all these new properties coming on the market, it's starting to trend in the same direction that we were trending last year, which I really don't want to get into. Our interest rates are so good. Like if you are a buyer right now, it is such a good time to be looking at a property. We may see prices soften a bit more, but we are really not going to go back a lot more compared to where we are right now. And interest rates are like under 4%. You can get mortgages for right now. So if you are a buyer, don't hesitate right now. It's a good time to be buying. So we'll have to see how the rest of April continues. Hopefully we can see some million plus sales start to trickle in. But right now, everything is trending that under $1 million is our active price point, and everything else is just kind of dead. So we'll see how the rest of April goes. I'll be back next week. Have a great week, everyone.